Hello and welcome to another edition of the eCommerce Odyssey podcast. I'm here with Andrew Forman from Givz. Andrew, would you like to tell us a bit about Givz, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So the quick spiel on Givz goes as such. We see two huge trends happening in e-commerce these days. The first is that brands are trying to get away from discounts as much as possible, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. And the second is that totally separately, consumers are demanding some sort of purpose-driven activity from brands now more than ever. This is not a fad that's going away. The younger generations kind of brought this to light, and the older generations are converting over to it. So this is something that every brand's trying to figure out. How do we do this in a genuine and authentic manner? It's really hard. It's usually on the old way of doing it, it's expensive to do it up front, and then you're not sure what the measurable outcome is. But everybody's thinking about it. So that's trend two. So Givz sits at the nexus of those two trends, allowing brands to convert discounts into donations and run what we're calling donation-based incentives, which allow brands to do something like, instead of spend $100 and get $20 off, you could say, hey, we're donating $20 to your favorite charity whenever you spend $100 or more. And that's actually going to be more effective than the $20 off that everybody else is giving. So that's the basic premise of what we do. And I'm happy to dive in a whole lot more about it.
So okay, so just can you give us a typical example of a typical customer and how it worked for them? Because I can see, as a cynical businessman, I'm just thinking, people want money, they love discounts. I personally would probably think, maybe I'm different, but I would probably prefer to give a discount for me than give to a charity. Am I just different? Am I just a bad person?
So no, absolutely not. I had that same thought process actually, and until we actually tried it, we couldn't have actually expected the outcome to be the way it was. So there's something going on in the consumer psychological behavior. If you were to see an offer that said, hey, you can get a 20% discount or you can get 20% to give to the charity of your choice, I agree with you. And we've actually run studies. People given the choice will take the discount every time. But ironically, when you only give the people the choice of, hey, you're going to get 20% to give to the charity of your choice, something clicks in the mind where you wanted this, you wanted to try this product anyway. Now you're doing it for good, and you're going to get to choose the charity that you care about, and you actually purchase it more often than you would have if it was just a standard 20% discount, because that's something that you're kind of numb to and you're seeing over and over again. So let me give you an example of something that a client has done. So a client of ours, one of our good clients, Spongele, you can call them Spongele or Spongel. They're happy either way. But if you check out Spongele, they are donating 5% of every purchase over $50, right? And that's their evergreen offer. So they have put that on their site now for the past 5 or 6 months. And they've seen average order value just tick up and to the right ever since they put that banner on the top of their site. Mm-hmm. Simply putting a banner on top of your site, we're donating 5% of every purchase over $50. And that just encourages people to put an extra item in their cart, get over $50 so that they can feel good as a human being and support a charity that they care about most. And so they've just seen 10, 15, 20, 30% increases in average order value, and it's sustaining. It's got to level off at some point because it's going to get to the $50 mark. But that's their evergreen offer. And then during the holiday period, let's say, Black Friday, Cyber Monday type of deal, that's where they can now take away the spend threshold, say, hey, every purchase, instead of we're upping the percentage from 5 to 10%, and we're taking away the spend threshold. So for Black Friday through Cyber Monday, here's your normal 20% off coupon or whatever you're going to give. It doesn't have to be a deep discount this time because you're going to add 10% to give to the charity of your choice.
So how do you find, okay, so obviously, if you had if this company gave away, 5% of the $50, they would get an increase anyway. Do you see that giving a charitable donation is more effective for them than giving away a 5% discount? And what would that figure be?
Yes. So two things there. So first thing is that when people actually make a qualifying purchase, so there will be about half the folks, and this number is rising, but let's call it 50% of people right now that feel good about hitting the $50 mark. so that they get the 5% to give to charity, but they're too lazy on the back end to actually allocate the money. And so it works kind of like a gift card. So they end up not actually donating the money. So giving 5% of every purchase over $50 actually equates to 2.5%, because half the people will ignore the message and just not donate, not allocate the money. So so the real test would be, what if you did spend $50 or more, and we'll give you a 2.5% off your purchase. Now, we haven't run that A/B test in particular, but what we have run are A/B tests where on the more push days, so you could do something like, hey, half the email list gets an email that says, here's 20% off. The other half of the email list gets an email that says, here's 10% off plus 10% to give to the charity of your choice. And what we've seen is that when you run a study like that, we're seeing a 20% lift in people that do the 10% off plus 10% to give to the charity, as opposed to just the 20% off. And and the 10 plus 10 only costs 15, if we're following that 50% math logic. So the real test that we encourage folks to run is a 20% off offer versus a 15% off plus 15% to give to charity, because that 15 plus 15 will end up costing right around 20%, 22.5%, I guess, to be exact. So it costs a little bit more. But in that case, we see like 58% increase in revenue when you do 15%.
Okay. Off. So if you, do you have relationships with lots of charities that mean, like, if I go in my experience with something like Amazon Smile, right? Or you have things in the UK like, not Just Giving, anyway, there's a like a cashback site we can give money to charity. Do you have relationships with lots of charities and a long drop down list that you can, is every, will I be able to pick whatever charity? Easy for me?
Yeah. So importantly, it's post purchase, and yes, there is we have a relationship with the PayPal Giving Fund. So starting in the US, there's over 250,000 charities enrolled in the PayPal Giving Fund. So basically any charity that you want to give to is there. If they're not there, they can enroll in the PayPal Giving Fund, and it's a super easy 2-day process, 2-day approval process, 5-minute application to get in there. And so we can work with pretty much any charity in the United States for now. We're working with PayPal Giving Fund in the UK and Canada and Australia to expand to those places next. But for now, yes, 250,000 different charities to choose from. That being said, each brand chooses charities to highlight every single month. And they could be the same every month because the brand has a consistent giving mission. Or right now it's Black History Month. Next month is Women's History Month. April, you have Earth Day. So you can switch up the featured charities that you care about as a brand. And that's what gets the most amount of clicks and donations at the end of the day, because people like to see what you stand for as a brand, and then they'll join you in that mission. You actually learn a lot from which featured charities are people choosing, or are people, using the search bar and donating to something entirely different than what you care about.
So is this, so you integrate with Shopify, this is the Shopify app?
Yep.
Are there any setup costs? Is it you just install it?
Just install it. There's a 14-day free trial right now. I think any listeners that are here will extend that to like a 2-month free trial so you can check it out and try it. And we'll put a link in the show notes. But no more setup fee than that. Even once you get to the paid side of it, it's $99 a month, and then you pay only for the donations that people actually make. So if somebody spends $100, you give them $5 in credit to give to any charity that they want. They ignore that for 14 days. That doesn't cost you anything. If they do care and they donate the $5, they allocate it to a charity that's really close to their heart. At the end of the month, we tell you, hey, 10 people allocated the $5. You owe $50 to charity. You make one payment, and we allocate it to all the different charities.
So do you charge a commission on the donation, or?
Charge a commission on the donation, 10% commission on the donation. Some of our partners elect to add that on top of whatever donation. So if they owe $100 to charity, they'll pay $110. Some folks just pay the $100, and $90 gets distributed to all the different charities.
Okay. So, do you find that consumers are driven by factors other than price? I mean, that's basically what you're saying. It's not all about the money. Give me the money.
It is not all about the money. I think that this is something that we've been seeing shift over the past 2 decades. This is quality has always been a buying factor, right? And that's something that's coming back in a huge way. People are making buying decisions based on, how the brand is perceived and how they're going to be perceived buying from that brand. Ultimately, we see with our own first party data that people are responding to genuine offers to help whatever causes that they're most passionate about. So if you can actually lock into somebody and let them know that you care about what they care about, price really starts to not become a factor. Saving an extra $6 versus getting $6 to give to a charity of your choice, it's massively different. It's massively different. And we've seen it actually flip and outperform when you get $10 to give to a charity of your choice, as opposed to, oh, blah, 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 another $10 off. That's what every single company is giving me $10 off to buy right now. No company is giving me $10 to really support any charity.
So it's a kind of a differentiating factor between these different companies.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I mean, is this, just presumably just one way that brands are embracing social responsibility?
Yeah. So I always, the funny part is like, people are like, hey, like what do you run into? What do people say? Are they already doing something like this? In general, no. What we're running into is the status quo, and people are worried that if they change their discount, then they're not going to have as many sales. But we can run an easy test on that and figure that out. The old way of social responsibility or social good, again, brands are feeling this pressure. They know they have to do something. So what they end up doing is they try to say, all right, for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're going to partner with a breast cancer charity. You have to go through a whole host of, commercial co-venture agreements, signing agreements that are different in every state in the United States. I'm sure the laws are all different all over the world. And you have to, in order to use that logo, oftentimes you have to commit to, all right, we're going to send $25,000 to you guys, no matter what happens here. And then we're going to be able to say, okay, 10% of every purchase in this month is going to the American Cancer Society. That is a whole lot of upfront work that you have to plan 6 months in advance. And then how many people actually care about the American Cancer Society? Of course, people generally feel good about it, but maybe 2 or 3% of your customer base genuinely passionately cares about the one cause that you chose. So we sit here to take this into the new way of saying, hey, we're putting our money as a brand where our mouth is. We care about you, our customer. Personalization is becoming more and more important. The products are usually personalized to the people. Why not give them the say in where the money goes? And you can highlight the American Cancer Society as a charity that you care about, and you can put it as the top charity, and people will support it if they care about it, or they'll keep scrolling to see what else you support, or ultimately type in their own charity. So we really fundamentally feel that cause marketing is moving from a 1.0 to a 2.0, and putting the decision with the customer is the 2.0, and bringing them into your mission.
Okay, so how do you see your product progressing? I mean, at the moment, what are your plans? What's the roadmap?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways that we could take that. So on our side, right now we have the Shopify app. We've been super focused on the Shopify side of things. We also have a platform agnostic API that anybody can plug into. So we launched with like a Betterment financial institution type of deal last month, and we have some much larger customers as well that are clearly not on Shopify. However, we'll want to build in, Salesforce integrations, Magento integration, et cetera, like that type of deal, expanding that way. We also want to expand internationally into the UK, Canada, and Australia, as well as, I think, a bigger vision, probably what you're asking, like what's next aside from the donation incentive side. We're also getting a ton of inquiries as we send money to charities. Charities are reaching out to us saying like, hey, how can we be more involved? And we always get our merchants asking, which charities should we highlight? Which charities should we feature? So there's a natural marketplace to be made there, as brands are trying to figure out how do we not spend as much as we're spending on Google and Facebook ads? Is there any other way to reach audiences? And then these charities have audiences of their own, and they're trying to figure out how do we, not just send an email that says, give us more money, right? Can we send something else other than give us more money, which could be, hey, here's a really cool brand that's featuring us right now. If you are in the market for a new pair of shoes, please shop here and get the $20 that they're giving you and give it to us, right?
But do you see these? I mean, because in the UK we've got various. I mean, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a site. It's like you have these cashback sites where you go on and you
Sure.
basically. I use the cashback sites to give the money to me, but
Yeah.
nicer people than me would go to the cashback site to give the money to the charity.
Yes.
Is that the kind of thing you're thinking of doing, or kind of
Yeah,
a marketplace for goods?
So I think there's two. Yeah. So then that you just hit on the third piece of it, which is actually, we've had over 50,000 people now allocate money to charities that they care about through our brand partners. Those folks could have a marketplace as well, where it's like, hey, start your shopping here, kind of like a Rakuten or a Honey for Good type of deal, as opposed to cash back in your pocket. On that side of things, we do get customers asking for that. Where else can I shop? And we're publishing some of our Givz gift guides, so you can shop at any of these 50 stores and you're going to get money back to give to the charity of your choice. But that's a whole separate thing. What I'm talking about is a marketplace for charities and companies to meet each other and be able to do some marketing together without all the strings attached of commercial co-venture agreements and everything that goes on with
That sounds pretty cool. Okay, so you've obviously met a lot of interesting charities. Which one has inspired you the most? Who's doing good work out there?
Yeah, that's tough. There are so many organizations doing unbelievable work at the moment. I mean, for me, I guess I'd have to talk about there's a couple of organizations that really inspired me early on. One very small organization called Bent on Learning here in New York, where they actually they go into inner city schools and teach yoga and mindfulness and mental health wellness, basically, to middle schoolers. And I know it sounds crazy, but they've been extremely, extremely effective. You should see the notes that these kids write after they, graduate 8th grade and go into high school. And then they talk about the Bent on Learning programs and how that hour per week where they were able to just doing the yoga is a quarter of the battle. I think
so helping out stressed out kids.
Yeah.
With too much going on
in their mind, so much going through that they're going through. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and just, the 3-year-old's really becoming a real human being, and she has so much on her mind. And I just really think that, especially in an underserved population, going in there, taking an hour out of the day to just breathe and think about things and be able to de-stress and relax, especially at a young age, is just something that, I don't know, for me is super, super, super interesting. So that's one that I think I started to get involved there as much as I could. And then with COVID, you can't actually really volunteer or help in any way, shape, or form. Very limited in where you can go. But that one's awesome. And then there's so many more. I mean, Reconnect New York, or I think it was Reconnect Brooklyn, Reconnect New York. Now it's just Reconnect. Same with America on Tech now. So America on Tech trains folks who traditionally underserved populations trains folks to become engineers and teaches them coding. And basically they graduate the America on Tech program. When they come in, they had really no prospects. They come out making $100,000 a year. Wild.
That's okay. I should do that. Sounds good.
Unbelievable stuff. And then the Reconnect folks are doing unbelievable work. They're giving folks, again, who really have nothing, coming to a job, and they're paying them, and they're just giving them jobs. And it started with woodworking. Now there's a cafe where they're serving folks, and now they're building a whole hospitality. So they're starting with a big hotel, and it's all run by these folks who had nothing initially, and now they're getting hands-on work experience. It's wild, just changing.
And so presumably they're all getting money through Givz as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a number of our brands that when they ask, so when they ask like, hey, we wanna support people of color who are entrepreneurial, and I'm like, okay, great. Reconnect is perfect for that, right? It's like, hey, we want to support people getting into tech. It's like, okay, great. America on Tech. Hey, we want to support mental health, wellness. Bent on Learning is amazing in the New York area. And then Child Mind Institute is an amazing organization across the United States and really worldwide. So there's so many to choose from, but all that knowledge being within the Givz side of things, I want to make that a marketplace so that somebody says, hey, I want to partner with a mental health charity. Child Mind Institute and Bent on Learning and a whole host of others pop right up, and they can actually just make the connection right there through Givz.
Cool. So Andrew, it's been great talking to you. I look forward to your product coming to the UK so we can try it out.
Absolutely. It'll be there before the end of the year for sure.
Excellent. Great. Nice to speak to you. Goodbye.